I remember when Yin was super duper meta, and I said, I hope I never see her again. Well, I kind of got my wish, because she fell off the face of the planet, and how do we bring her back? Now, her thing is anti-projectiles. And while it was really, really cool and a really great concept, it never really seemed to be that prevalent with her, and it never really gave her the edge in the draft lobby. How do we rework her then to really make this work? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Hero Rework Idea Video. I am Sylphin. A few things right off the bat. One, this is just my own personal idea. Nothing more. Does not represent what Unleashed Games is going to do in the upcoming project at all. It's simply my own personal idea. Two, hero passives are coming back, so we have to extract that from their kit, make one up that really suits them and accentuates why you picked them in the first place. Three, I like the idea of quest mechanics, or what I'm calling a Paragon mechanic. If you do something, usually with an ability, well, if you perform well, that accentuates the whole reason why you pick that hero in the first place, then you're rewarded and it gets empowered and gets better. So, what is that for Yin? Well, I believe that hero design has to really focus on a strong draft lobby pick, a strong draft lobby reason. There has to be a reason for heroes to exist. Strong gameplay design. So, with that said, Yin, as we've already said, is an anti-projectile hyper ADC. Anti-projectile, she's a hyper ADC, and she happens to be pseudo melee, something like that. Well, an hyper ADC is one that deals more damage than a normal carry and comes online even later in the game than a normal carry. So they deal a ton of damage in the very late game, most normal carries do a little bit less and come online a little bit early. So, Yin, what is this passive? Hummed and hawed over a lot of it and a lot of different ideas. And this is what we came up with. Passive, whenever Yin reflects a projectile, she gains 3% movement speed and 3% attack speed for 1.6, 1.9, 2.2, 2.5 seconds. Maximum of 5 stacks. These stacks refresh previous stack durations, and they add on to the duration. So as long as you reflect a second projectile, even if the cooldown's at like 0.1 of a second, it bumps it up to 5 seconds at the you know, when you're at the max level. So subsequent stacks refresh the duration and add on to it. So if you're able to reflect a whole bunch of projectiles very quick, well, then you have 10 seconds of, you know, potentially 10 seconds of increased movement speed and attack speed. And that's exactly what Yin is all about. She is mobile with her Q that you're seeing here, and she's melee, so she has to, you know, pseudo melee, so she has to be mobile and kind of get into position and stuff like that. But also attack speed, straight up DPS is what, you know, as a hyper ADC, what she is all about. Now, Lash Kick, this is a very key ability for her, as it allows her to engage like this or disengage from allies. Yin pulls herself to an ally or enemy within 1,000 units. It'll have to be tuned so that you can use it fairly liberally, but not in absolutely in every single scenario. 10-second cooldown. After using Lash Kick on 10 enemy heroes, so you're using it aggressively, the cooldown is reduced to 5 seconds whenever you use it on an enemy hero. So, if you use it to engage and deal damage, which is the whole point of an ADC, in the late game, once you finish the quest, then you can do that more often. A, likely increasing your DPS because you are staying close to your target. 2, increasing your survivability and mobility, which means you do more damage, which is the whole purpose of it. And Yin, she very much needs that engage and disengage and mobility. Windburn. Very important to her as well, as it provides her with range increase and a very interesting cleave. Yin extends her whip, increasing the basic attack range to 1200 units and gaining 100% cleave in a straight path, not side to side, for 6 seconds. 21, 18, 12, 6-second cooldown, ends up being 50% uptime if you're using it all the time. And kind of thought about changing that, but it's actually quite appropriate. Also, this is an addition. Yin, while Windburn is active, will reflect projectiles if her basic attack and enemy projectiles connect to each other. If you literally aim and attack a projectile with Windburn, you will reflect it. Now, this is one will need quite a bit of testing, because just the physics of having her whip, her attack be an object, a literal geometric object that travels through things but not projectiles. Having that, like seeing that interaction with projectiles is going to be really important. You know, does it happen to just reflect literally everything as long as she's just attacking in a straight line? Like, does it work like that? Or does it almost never work? Right? Does it almost never work because it just never literally connects? I really have to see how that works out. But the intent is that you may reflect projectiles if you're trading 1v1 against a carry. You may project some of their projectiles. Against a melee carry, you're not doing anything. But against a ranged carry, the intent behind it is that you would reflect every, 2 out of 3, 1 out of 2 projectiles back at the enemy, something like that. So, I don't know. That is the intent. You would also reflect projectiles if your basic attack connects with projectiles. I don't know how that would work out, but I explained the intent, and that's really what you should care about. Now, Backlash is her ability to reflect a projectile upon command, not relying on aim anyways. Backlash. Yin cracks her whip, creating a sphere of pressure around her for 0.5 seconds. If enemy projectiles hit the sphere, they are reflected back towards the enemy who fired them. 10, 8, 6, 4 second cooldown. If Yin reflects a projectile, though, the cooldown is reduced by 50%. And I felt like that is actually needed because it does take... If you're attacking a target, if you use Backlash, you're foregoing a basic attack or two. Does decrease your damage and maybe your survivability too if you're getting attacked in that duration. So it is a consideration in your ability rotation and in your DPS output. But it was always on cooldown and you would always miss it, and maybe you did reflect something, but there's always more. And it was always like, I reflected one thing, but it's like, it needed more. And if you reflect a projectile, the cooldown's reduced by 50%. In the early game, that's much stronger than in the late game, but in the late game, there's a lot more deadly projectiles flying around, so it kind of works out. I feel like that is needed just to accentuate her anti-projectile nature. Simple as that. Quelling Gale. This has changed as well. Gale winds surround Yin wherever she goes. So, her wind that you're seeing on screen now follows her wherever she goes. Slowing enemies by 40, 50, 60% and slowing projectiles just like it used to. Backlash has no cooldown and no mana cost for the duration of this ability. So, if you pop it once, the howitzer, like right there, shot his R2000 missile, you would reflect it back, go attack them. Usually people when they see this are just not going to attack you anyways, but it will provide you with some protection as you go around. I feel like that's almost needed. I toyed with the idea of giving Quelling Gale, it would automatically reflect projectiles. It would just automatically. You didn't have to do anything. It would just automatically reflect projectiles back at enemies. I realized that was a bit too crazy. You actually need some input. You need to do something to get out of it. You know, and I think this is fair enough. You could just sit there spamming backlash, but then you're not doing anything, right? And there's probably not many projectiles because people would be like, can't attack her. At least with projectiles. Stuff like that. Remember, it doesn't really affect melee units as long it just slows them. Which, I mean, most melee units, if you're a bruiser, so what? You can just kind of attack stuff like that. So that, again, lots of testing for Yin. It may be crazy, but at least this brings out her intent, her design focus, and that's really what's needed. That's really what is needed. So let me know what you think about this rework. You know, I kind of struggled. I mean, it's my own personal idea. I just feel like her identity was missing. Like, she didn't reflect enough projectiles. She wasn't based around it. She couldn't do it nearly as much as she was supposed to, and I always felt like it was lacking. So let me know what you think about this. I would love to know your opinion about Yin. Please like the video, like it, dislike it, share it with the community, guys. Of course, subscribe. You guys like this content, especially if you like more. Let me know down in the comment section below, and also hit that bell notification icon to be notified whenever stuff comes out. Till next time, like always, stay optimistic and positive.